Hi Vidya, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, Gaurav.
Nice to have you on a Wednesday afternoon. And where are you speaking in from? What part of the country are you in?
I am in Chennai, south of India, and thank you for having me on this platform.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. So just to our users, Vidya has been an integral part of the team Zoho for 22 years now, and I think I will not be able to do justice if I tell you the journey. Vidya, over to you. Why don't you talk to our users and tell them about your journey at Zoho and how did you get to where you are at today? And yeah, I do want to appreciate you. Thank you for your time, for being a part of this podcast, Joy of Performing, where we call people who specialize in things that they really care about and kind of create that joy, not just for themselves and their organizations, but audience as a whole. So over to you, Vidya.
Thank you again, Gaurav. I joined Zoho in about 22, 23 years back, actually. It has been a good journey, not too eventless or too eventful. It has been one a good ride of learning, and I'm continuing to learn. And I've been fortunate to be in roles that are largely customer facing. I've written, I have supported customers, I've trained, I've consulted. Now I'm focusing on user community building in Zoho, and I'm very passionate about this aspect of the job where we get to be in the customer's shoes, understand their pains, and see how we can add value to their business through our solutions. So that has been the work journey, and yeah, I am still a student.
Well, that's your modesty speaking right there. After 23 years, you're humble and modest of calling yourself a student and being in front of us and talking about this. But thank you, Vidya. And just taking a cue from what you had said. Now, Zoho has been one hell of a journey by themselves, right?
Yes.
It's the North Star in our SaaS world or software world in India today, and they have really gone to achieve the heights that they have done. And 22, 23 years at Zoho, you would have seen it all. You would have seen the highs and the highs and the lows of the lows. And customer centric, I think that is
Yes.
extremely important for any software business to succeed. Like sales is absolutely critical, but once that revenue comes in, it's the customer who keeps that revenue in the company and also grows the company with it. So I would love to know a little
True.
about how that journey from your perspective of Zoho has been, and maybe two or three pointers that today our listeners can take away, which could be crucial with their journey if they are building a software business, that is.
Okay. So largely, if you look at a lot of businesses today, community building takes a slightly back seat. So that is one of the core components or core aspects of building customer relationships. A good strategy to stay engaged with customers. So being in the customer facing role provides us with the unique advantage of looking at things from a customer's shoes. It helps us understand what challenges they're facing and how they're trying to overcome them. So, in the process, we begin to understand where we stand as solution providers and also notice the gaps we are unable to bridge. So I realized that these gaps can never be bridged with a transactional approach. I used to follow a lot of business communities at work for learning purposes, and I still do. I still look at a lot of communities out there, orthodox and unorthodox communities. But I've always been hooked to the collaborative, non-transactional approach that communities make possible. So that took me on this road to community building and user engagement, and I wanted to explore the possibility of building to focus on building a thriving ecosystem around our brand. I think that is relevant for big and small businesses alike today, particularly when software has become increasingly affordable. There is more tech available, there are so many options available, and users have access to a large amount of information, and they have the buying and decision making power. So I think that is where it all converges.
Lovely. No, that's great. And it's very interesting that you made that move from being a customer success or a customer facing to that whole community building. And I think it comes from the fact, as you rightly said, that you cannot handle your customers transactionally. They are working with you, and there is much more of a relationship which gets built over a period of time. So one needs to take a step back and understand that relationship, and that is what keeps it going. So so that's beautiful. Now, one thing that I have seen in my career and my understanding, that communities, there have been some great communities built when it comes to a direct to consumer, or a business to consumer kind of a business. But it is hardly seen a great community on the B2B side of it, or a business to business side of it. Is that a trend that you think, is it happening in today's world, and where do you see the future of B2B communities going as we go along?
See, again, like I mentioned, this is an integral strategic function, business function, community building. So, the most important business goal a community aligns to is increasing user retention. This is nothing new, and this has always been a factor. This is made possible through meaningful and sustained engagements with customers. You need a platform to do this. And this automatically ties into the next important goal for any business, where enabling deeper adoption of the applications have to be possible. So the more customers get access to resources, the more they understand, the deeper their adoption gets. So the more deeply they adopt, the ROI, they have a better ROI on their investments with a brand, on whatever solutions they've implemented for their business, and there are fewer reasons to churn. And again, another goal that will also take us closer to through community building is deflecting support costs. When the users are more enabled and empowered through peer learning, and they get an opportunity to build on their expertise, and also this becomes some kind of a self-help system. So they become the alternative support ecosystem, and they contribute to reducing the support load. So, and again, it also leads to one more, it also takes us closer to one more goal, where we'll be able to find champions, those who are top talkers. So community provides an opportunity to find this core group of users who can be nurtured as your champions, and they'll be the first list, or the first in the reckoning, the go-to customers, where you can engage them in early accesses. You can you can request them to take you for a spin. You can understand how they're solving different business problems through the solutions. So they will be the go-to channel, and this is made possible only through regular, sustained, meaningful engagements. It cannot happen just during releases, when a brand wants to make a new release is ready for general availability. You don't want to go to your customers at that moment and say, hey, try this release and give us some feedback. It sounds, again, it becomes very transactional, right? So we have to steer clear from that approach if you want to build long term relations with customers, have really if you're looking at the long term goals. So I think that it's a clear, very strategic component, or strategic way of handling the entire customer relationship. So community is at the core of all this.
No, that's beautiful, Vidya. And I love you highlighting that point of creating those, or identifying those champions, right? I think in a software business, or in any other business, you really want to understand who are those power users or champions, because the product life cycle is always continuous. You're always trying to solve problems in many different ways, and identifying who are the power users that you can take the product initially and get some feedback which
True.
will allow you to build on for a bigger mass. I think it's crucial, critical, and I think it's a great way to do it. So I'm sure our users will
True.
learn from this and kind of adopt to this as well. So what are some of the key ingredients, Vidya, if I may ask, to build up a very engaged community? I mean, in your journey, what are those few things that you can highlight?
Key ingredients, I would say there are at two levels you have to approach this. One, from the standpoint of the mindset, so the people, you have to
Hmm.
have the right people handle and build the community. And this should be supported by good tools. And these are the two core components: people with the right mindset and reasonably good tools that help you manage, sustain, and run a community. So from the mindset point, the people who are building should be passionate about customer engagements first, and about helping customers solve their business problems. And they should be great listeners. So it is, all these often pass off as some kind of a fad, some kind of a theory where people spout about how the customers are always right and we have to listen, we have to solve the problems. But it takes a lot more than that to really be the face of customers inside the company, and the face of company to the customers. You are the buffer. The community becomes the buffer between these two entities. So it requires a mindset where you will really honestly champion the cause of customers. And from the tool standpoint, a community must have both. See, there should be regular engagements, and the avenues must be both online and offline. For that, I think the key ingredient from the tools perspective would be to have a reasonably good platform that enables discussion, some forum based Q&A type of platform that allows content to be available long term. Because today, if you have a question, this is one narrative that is consistent whenever I talk about community. Today, if you have a question, a thousand others before you have had the same question. So community should make it easier for the new members coming on board to find answers readily. They don't have to go through the entire drill of finding out from the scratch. So somebody has asked a question, a new person comes in, they'll be able to find the solution. So a platform that enables this discussions to happen, and uh, give more shelf life to these discussions. And to complement this, it should provide a framework for membership management. And again, this should be complemented with lot of in-person engagements. So there are really people behind this brand, people who want to interact with customers. So the engagement should be online and offline. So this will again contribute to doing this again sustained manner in a sustained manner with both these entities. Right mindset and right tools will make sure that we'll align to the bigger goals of improving retention or earning repeat business or creating a lot more brand love. Because basically community will bring people with similar interests, or people who are like-minded together. They have some common challenges to solve. So this becomes that framework. So you need both this right mindset, uh, people with right mindset, and the right set of tools. It need not be very sophisticated tools, but that is workable, because tool is only 40% of the problem. 60% is the people that drive the community.
No, and I love it. I love it. The sequence that you also say it in, right? It's the mindset first and then tools to follow, right? It's not the other way around. And you can have the best tools in the world, but if you don't have that community mindset, it is going to be extremely hard to build that. So while mindset, you did talk about, some of the key elements to have, such as great listening skills, empathetic, want to solve for real customer problems. What are those some of the tools that you think which are required, Vidya? If you want to talk about it for a few minutes with our users.
Yeah, so you basically need a forum kind of a platform which enables people to ask questions. There should be an avenue for the community also to share their tips or hacks or whatever learnings possible. It should enable discussions. People should be able to report issues. People should be able to request for a feature, and there should be a mechanism where these can be tracked. The tracked sustainably. So, and this insight should be transferred back into the teams that work on product management and engineering. And this should also tie back to the support folks. So, whatever is being asked, this will also translate as knowledge for the team that handles the technical support and the pre sales. Because most of the time, when as solution vendors, we think this is how an enterprise will have a problem. These are the typical problems a particular business will have, and this is how they solve. The reality can be a little different. So it is very enlightening to be amidst discussions of customers where a lot more knowledge gets created. through whatever questions they ask. So the first way knowledge gets created is by the community that asks the right questions. So as individuals, a lot of us are reticent. We don't want to ask because we always have the self doubt when we worry that this question could be very basic, it could be very simple. What if I get judged? So community helps break that barrier, so that is very critical. So a platform that enables people to ask, and there should be a facility where I don't want to ask as Vidya. I can sport an avatar. I don't want the world to know who's asking this question. I need to have an avatar. So a slight invisibility cloak. So that kind of a platform. Also, an option for the customers to network in person if they so choose to. Because what we consciously try here at Zoho, some of the things we try is bringing people who share similar interests or people who are in similar vertical together once in a while. For example, people in the real estate industry or in the healthcare industry. Okay, so we try to create those kind of virtual and in-person groups. So all these have to coexist. Like I said, there are plenty of tools. We in Zoho, anything, everything in Zoho runs on Zoho. So we use our own tools. We use a forum-based component from Zoho Desk. We use Zoho's Backstage for our meetup pages. We use Zoho Creator as the backend. A lot of other tools power our community. There is not one single tool. And I think today we don't even have to worry about one platform enabling all these functions, all these community engagements, that we could use multiple platforms. We in fact use Zoho Click. It's a chat medium. So this helps us create a lot of virtual groups, and people continue the conversations right from the forums or right from an in-person meetup or right from after a virtual meetup. The conversations continue. In fact, we've seen amazing cases where people kind of use this like a mini LinkedIn. They say, hey, I have a need for this kind of a developer. Do any of you know, is there somebody in Gurgaon with this kind of skill set? So that is something far more powerful that a community makes possible. It enables people not only to use the products, but the overall dynamics, the overall enablement of users to build on their skills, grow in their careers. So those kind of things. So from tools perspective, like I said before, basic tools should do. A forum based platform and another platform where that lets you create virtual events like a meetup.com, but we have our own in-house tools. So these things enable the communities.
No, thank you. I think there's some very good information in what you just said, and that would be extremely useful. At hindsight, I also see, Vidya, that while there are forums and there are great technology out there to build communities, but some beautiful communities have now been built on just WhatsApp. I mean, it's as simple as that, and people get a lot of good traction and information. So I think sometimes the mindset absolutely is more important, and the will to do that is more important than maybe just the tools out there. So great. And I'm gonna address the elephant in the room also, Vidya. Sometimes founders or management is not very eager to build a community because they also think that it is a doorway for them to get a lot of negative public feedback for their product or what is happening in the company. So, was that a challenge for you when you were thinking about ever? And does that happen? And if does that, how do you kind of manage through this challenge today itself?
I had this concern when we were set out to build community. So, of course, it comes from some of the business function, people from some of the business functions like sales, for example, or pre-sales. They are worried that if a user or a prospect lands on a negative conversation, that the deal could fall through the cracks. But that fear is misplaced, is what I would say, and I would say it with a lot of gut feel. 9.9 out of 10 times you will still end up winning the deal if you're transparent and if you're out there with all your bends and dents. I think today we have to respect the intelligence of consumers. Customers, it can be in SaaS, it can be in any business, D2C, B2C, anything. So people are far more intelligent. Consumers are a lot more intelligent. They know what they're dealing with. It is always good to be upfront and tell if there is a bug or if there is a limitation or this is something a business cannot roll out, a feature a company cannot build. So we have culturally started implementing that practice a long time ago. There still is hesitation. There could be a lot of there are people who often hesitate and say, hey, what if this does not work out? But customers respect that a lot more. And we are not afraid. If you look at Zoho community, there is nothing to hide. There are people who are unhappy, but we try to understand what is bothering or what is not working for the customer. If it is within our scope, we try and see if it can be prioritized. If it is not, we make an honest effort to tell the consumers, not leave them hanging. We tell them, hey, this is not going to be possible. We will understand if you want to move on. We want to make that statement very vehemently, very clearly. We want to be forthright about it and tell the community, we will understand if you want to move on, because this is not going to happen anytime soon. As in, if you're going to look at this requirement to happen within 6 months, we cannot give you a timeline. That is something we have clearly steered away from giving any timelines. So community understands. Zoho is not worried, but that does not mean we don't respect, or that does not mean we are abrasive or arrogant. But we want to be transparent. We want to be credible. We don't moderate any negative conversations unless there is any unparliamentary language on the community, or somebody is being uncivil, or somebody is abusing a peer on the community. We don't moderate any conversations that has any negative feedback or comments on the products or any of the services. So it has to be out there. We don't want to hide. If we don't allow that space, the customers are going to go to some third party platform and they're just going to air it there. We don't want to create that space.
Yeah, and I love that the way you put it, right? I think customers are very, very intelligent today, and they accept any business with their dents and bends, which is very natural. And those bends or dents get even better with time. So I think there is no problem there. And I actually see an extreme different use case where people are actually building products in public. So they're absolutely open for them to showcase their flaws and ask the public and take that feedback and then work at it as well. So I think there is nothing wrong with that mindset, and more so now, business as well as users are being okay with it. So Vidya, we have a section which is fun, and we call it like a rapid fire. So I will just go with that if you're okay.
Yeah, sure. Go on. Let's do it.
Great. So Vidya, are you a tea or a coffee person?
Both.
Okay. And what is the most used emoji that you see in communities today?
Smiling.
Oh, that's good. So people are positive. And what is the favorite productivity hack that you have for communities?
For the communities, spend 30 minutes going through all the conversations on the community without any disturbance. Spend first 30 minutes looking at the conversations.
Very well. Very well. I'm not sure if you're reading into books, but if you are, any book that you would recommend, which could help for community building specifically.
Not for community building specifically, but I recently, so this book has been there for a while, but I got to read it only now. I do read books very regularly. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I think it's a good read for everyone.
Wow. Okay. I'll get my hands on that. And what is the
Yeah.
hidden talent that you possess which people don't know about?
It's a secret.
Okay. All right. All right. Biggest perk of working at Zoho?
The freedom, of course.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah,
And one word
it's
that describes your journey so far.
a roller coaster.
Oh, roller coaster. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think there is any word better than that, which describes the whole entrepreneurial journey as a whole. But thank you
Yeah.
so much, Vidya. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. We really enjoyed this talk. Some great conversation, some great inputs that you gave us. Something that I am sure I'm going to take ahead in my company and speak to my team about how do we go about in creating and keeping that community being engaged. Any last thoughts that you want to leave the users with?
Yeah. Put the people first. I think the rest of the things will automatically fall in place.
Yeah, it's beautiful that you say that. At Joy of Performing, it's one of our bigger value as well. And sometimes, your business, your day to day, too much is going on, and even though if you want to do it, it's hard to do it. But it's so important and critical for you to put your people first because the returns are just amazing and exponential. But
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Vidya,
Thank
and
you.
definitely we'll be in touch. Thank you.